I think they made the Ingram trade because they're essentially directionless. They think of it as flexible, but I think of it as directionless. Welcome back to Amateur Answers, this series on the channel where I read your comments and react to them in videos just like this. If you enjoy along the way, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this on Amateur Sports, where it is all about the Raptors. And a bit of a negative take here from Howard Fisher, 8452 to get us started. As I said, I think they made the Ingram trade because they're essentially directionless. They think of it as flexible, but I think of it as directionless. That kind of approach will likely result in them remaining in no man's land, unfortunately. Not bad enough to really rebuild through the draft, not good enough to contend. I don't see any way out anytime soon. They were clearly tanking last year after the start they got off to, and the trade allowed them to continue that because Ingram wasn't going to play. But I truly don't think they were looking beyond that when they made the trade. So on the Brandon Ingram trade and just the thoughts in general, I understand how they've limited their flexibility a little bit, and I do feel like there is maybe a little bit of a lack of direction with the team, because it's just like, do they really want to be good? Do they really feel like they can compete with this team? Because it's a very depleted Eastern Conference, and this is very much not a surefire playoff team. But as far as the flexibility for the team, this is where I still sort of disagree. I think that there are contracts that can be moved by the team, and in the end, the Raptors have all of their draft capital available at their disposal to move, to trade, whatever. So it's not like they can't pivot in a certain direction. So maybe a little bit in that middling area of the NBA where you're not contending, but you're also not getting a really good draft pick. But if the Raptors just decided one day, let's just go all out for the tank, they have players they can move in Scotty Barnes, in Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett. Emmanuel Quickly, RJ Barrett, maybe not as much value, but Scotty Barnes certainly has value, and I believe you could trade him and get a bunch of picks in return for doing that. I think that they could become a tanking team if they wanted to and stack up picks. But I also feel like they could pivot in the other direction. They have all of their picks at their disposal. They have contracts that could match up in salary for a trade for a superstar. They've been big fish hunting in the offseason. Maybe that's kind of tampered down a little bit, but I don't buy into this. The Raptors are stuck and there's like nothing they can do about it. They can pivot in certain directions. Hopefully at a certain point we see what that direction is, but probably to start the new season, it'll just be see how it goes with what we have. I can understand the frustration and feel that there's a lack of direction, but I don't buy into the fact that they're stuck and there's no way out of the current position that they are in. But good comment nonetheless to start us off. Andrew Bryan, 595, says, Raptors are not tanking this year. Bench mob is back. Bigger, faster, and stronger. We are going to be strong this year. So on the tanking conversations, which is kind of what I just talked about there, I mean, the Raptors started last season. I'm sure a lot of people went into last season thinking that, like, we're not going to be tanking this year. The reality is, if the Raptors get to February and they are in, like, one of the lower play-in tournament spots, I can very much see the front office deciding, yeah, it's not really worth it to be a play-in team here. Let's take a step back and focus on the draft. Like, that's just what could easily happen for this Raptors team. It'll be interesting to see what the aggression level is of Bobby Webster compared to Masai Ujiri. I know Bobby Webster had a lot of say in the front office previously as the general manager, obviously, but maybe his style is a little bit different to Masai Ujiri. We shall see. But, like, again, if the team is off the pace of the playoffs at the deadline, which they may or may not be, I don't think they will, but I think they easily could be in that position, I would not be surprised to see them tank. So it's definitely a potential threat for this Raptors team, but I get why you don't want to see it, but I wouldn't say it is absolutely not happening this year, not in all caps. You know what I mean? Next up, we have David W2, who says, was the acquisition of Brandon Ingram a smart move by the Raptors? I hope he is healthy enough this coming season to play in a bunch of games, but pretty much anything still goes on that count, as he still has yet to play in Summer League, preseason, regular season, play-in, or playoff games. So essentially saying Brandon Ingram has not played in a game for the Raptors, and I take it as he does have a bit of a history of injury. So, like, on this tanking conversation, as much as there is like a decent crop of players off the bench for the Raptors, and I'll talk about this a lot, I think, in this video, but it's not a super top-heavy bench, so it's a very fragile unit. And if Brandon Ingram does go down, and again, he does have a history of injury, doesn't mean he will get injured this year, but like there is a bigger threat of injury to Brandon Ingram than the average NBA player, and that's probably understating it a little bit. If Brandon Ingram goes down, this team is basically the same team that it was last season, and that team didn't do so hot from a win-loss standpoint. So if there are injuries for this team, it could be a problem for the Raptors. So part of getting into the playoffs, part of having a successful season is being healthy. And it's a bit of a bigger deal to stay healthy for this Raptors team, perhaps compared to other teams vying for a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. Something to remember. Next comment comes from @TheRealFoil. The only way I'd say the Brandon Ingram trade was bad is if we don't win a playoff series while he's here and he leaves for nothing in 3 years. Other than that, I don't think it was a bad trade. So I agree it wasn't a bad trade. I think the Raptors, and I talked about this in the video that I pulled these comments from, that was a video where that was actually the previous Q&A or amateur answers that we did, and a lot of it was centered around Brandon Ingram, and that was kind of the lead topic, and if it was a good trade or not. But it was kind of just a trade the Raptors had to make because it was so cheap. They gave away expiring contracts and a not-so-great first-round pick in order to get him. So I wouldn't say, like, this is the rubric. Maybe this is, like, a good guideline. Like, hey, if Brandon Ingram plays well and we win a playoff series with him here, that's probably a pretty good trade for the Raptors. They probably got pretty good return on that investment of assets in order to make this trade happen. But, like, if the Raptors win a playoff series and Brandon Ingram's injured or he's, falls off and doesn't play well for whatever reason, I don't think that'll happen. But, like, if they win and he's not really a factor, I wouldn't say it was a good trade because of that. And the same thing could be said. If the Raptors don't win a playoff series or Brandon Ingram's, like, spectacular for the Raptors, I wouldn't also say, well, it's a bad trade because we didn't win a playoff series. Maybe a good guy, like, hey, if we do win a playoff series, like, probably it's because Brandon Ingram played well, which probably means it's a good trade, but I wouldn't say exactly that would make it a good trade or not. Before we go any further, if you are enjoying this video, please make sure you do hit the like button and also subscribe for more Raptors content throughout the offseason. Also, comment something down below. I'm away on vacation as you're watching this, but hey, the conversation gets started down below with you and the amazing community we have here at Amateur Hour Sports. Staying on the same video here, we have the question coming up from Prof. Way Newsmith. Do you see this summer league as a chance to have a preseason, allowing the bench to get reps and build cohesion? I think this summer league is really going to be helpful come this season, and that the bench will win us games like back in 2017. So this comment was actually before summer league started. Obviously, as of this point, we know summer league has concluded for the Toronto Raptors, a semifinal appearance, and I do believe summer league was big for the team because, like, there were certain lineups out there, 5-man lineups that were, like, literally the 5 players that could be coming off the bench for the Raptors as long as everyone is healthy this season. Like, that is your 5-man bench unit. So it was really good for them to get reps together and prepare themselves for league. Like, we saw the culture that was kind of set by that summer league team. But I wouldn't go quite as far as to say this is going to be a bench that wins us game like back in 2017. I think, like, bench and summer league will come out a little bit over the course of this amateur answers, but in short, before we go a little bit more in depth, the summer league team was great. They got to the semifinals. That was great. They were the 1 seed out of the 4, I guess we'll call it, grading games in summer league. But where that success stemmed from is the defense and forcing turnovers. It wasn't really about the success from the offense. It wasn't about the offensive success. In fact, there were limitations to what that team could do offensively. So I'm not sure that what we learned from summer league would suggest, like, that bench is going to win us games. I'd be very happy if that bench didn't lose us games, though, and I think we might be able to get to close to that point this season. RB90 says in our next comment, I think this is a playoff roster, potential top 6 in the East, but I don't like all the redundancy at the wing positions. If there's a trade out there for a superstar point guard, they need to make it. They have the matching salaries, young talent, and draft picks to get it done. That's kind of what I was talking about earlier. But it doesn't seem like anyone is available right now. Might have to wait to the deadline. That's kind of the thing with these big trades, and I feel like it's kind of been a thing for the Raptors for a while right now. We know that they were, quote-unquote, big fish hunting. They were looking for a big trade to happen. They had the assets to do it, but it's always, like, doesn't really seem like one's available right now. And I do agree. I mean, I would kind of look for maybe a point guard for the Raptors, but I wouldn't just be specific to that. If there's a good trade available, the Raptors should go and do it, but it always feels like, well, maybe no one's available right now. In the end, for a star player trade, teams don't really like trading their star players. So if you want one, you have to shell out and get it. I agree and disagree in that sense, where I think we do need some sort of a trade like that at a certain point, but I'm not sure it specifically needs to happen in the guard positions. I think you could bring in a player like a Giannis, who is not a guard, who would reshape this team. Would it be ideal positioning to get somebody as a guard? Maybe, but I wouldn't constrict it just to that because superstar players are hard enough to get as it is. The final comment we have from the previous iteration of Amateur Answers comes from Rick Ducharme 7429. Says, Gradey Dick will be a star in the league. He's the real deal. End of story. And I disagree with this. not to be negative, but I don't look at Gradey Dick's trajectory and think that is a future star in the league, nor do I reasonably, obviously I would love for that to happen, but reasonably I don't think that's going to happen. So I think the way you should look at Gradey Dick and his development, I want this to become an elite level role player for this team. Not somebody who's probably going to be leading our offense, but if he's an elite level role player, knocked down absolutely deadly from outside from three, I mean, if he becomes an NBA average defender, that would be great. Just one of those elite players to fill in the cracks of a roster, that would be great. I'm not looking as far as becoming a star in this league. Before we go to the next batch of comments from a different video, a reminder, we have a link in the description to join the Amateur Hour Sports Discord, an amazing community with so many amazing Raptors fans to chat basketball, to chat Raptors, to chat anything. Check out the link in the description once again. I'm active in there quite often. Maybe, I'm not on vacation, but join the discussion today. Get yourself involved. Again, link down below. So these comments come from the video I did talking about Summer League. Now, this was the halfway stage. We were 3 games into Summer League at the time, but a lot of these points kind of resonate throughout Summer League, so they're still relevant even to you watching today. The first comment from this comes from Tim C6870. It says, Optimism is growing. A pretty simple comment, but yes, it's kind of like the cycle of the NBA offseason, where you get the games like this, and you just the excitement of having Raptors basketball back, even if it is Summer League, it just kind of gets me going, gets me excited, gets me fired up for the new season. And that's that optimism as we get towards the start of the season. It slowly builds up. We're in the early stage, but yes, I agree that optimism is growing. Stay Quitting says in the next comment, I'm happy with our bench. Let's go Raps. So I'm happy with what I saw from Summer League. Like I said earlier, it was great to see. I think that there's a lot of good players competing for a limited amount of spots. I still question, the offensive output you're going to get from those units. And you really do need to stagger minutes for that second unit. I don't want to see 4 bench players on at once. I just don't think that those lineups can exist successfully in the NBA for this current team of the Raptors. For me, ideal rotations, 3 bench players max on a time. They're in with 2 starters. It's just a lot easier to manage those minutes rather than kind of throwing 4 to the Wolves alongside Scotty Barnes. Just feel like we don't have success for those lines. But I was happy with the bench. I'm much happier with it this season than I have been to previous seasons. I feel like there are 5 players that can come off the bench that are NBA caliber, which I haven't felt like previously with this team. Sometimes we go in season where I feel like there's only 2 NBA caliber players coming off of the bench. Next up, this is the second last comment. It comes from I Am Satido. Hopefully I got that one right. I think they are giving Castleton a run because I think we know who's making that final cut, but they want to give Colin a chance. I don't feel like he'll be playing as much the next few games. Maybe next one, but the rest, I'm sure we'll be trying to win Summer League. I think decisions have been made already, but I just wanted to make sure. I'm sure we know now, LOL. So interestingly, this comment kind of came true because in the next game, which was the 4th game, Colin Castleton did once again start. And then in the semifinals against the Kings, he didn't start because we were trying to win Summer League. So very accurate comment here. And it is kind of correct. Colin Castleton, if you don't know, got $100,000 guaranteed, and he gets a veteran minimum guaranteed for the season if he does make the final roster. If he doesn't make the final roster, again, he's waived with only that $100,000 guaranteed. Colin Castleton, at that present point in Summer League, after those 3 games, was playing very poorly. Then once again played very poorly in the 4th game. So the Raptors instead opted to go with Oberschamsche in the semifinal against the Kings. Honestly, Oberschamsche had a pretty poor game, so kind of didn't really work out for the Raptors. Castleton came out the bench, also didn't really play that well either. So kind of a sticky situation, but people are complaining, why is Colin Castleton starting these games when it's kind of written on the wall that he's not going to make the team with how bad he's playing in Summer League? He looks out of place at this level. What is he going to look like actually in the NBA with the Raptors if he gets another crack there? So maybe it was just let's be absolutely, positively sure we are not going to take this guy. And I think that 4th game in Summer League was that, yeah, okay, we're probably not going to sign this guy, unfortunately. The last comment comes from Loss Like Gilligan. I really enjoyed watching the Summer League roster. I'm curious to see how the season goes. Yes, like I said, the optimism is building. We're going to see how the season goes, how these Summer League standouts integrate into the NBA, what part of the rotation they're going to be in, what sort of role they're going to have. All excited to see this happen, and we're going to watch it all unfold and cover how it all unfolds right here on Amateur Sports with videos, with live streams, all this great content, all about the Raptors. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more videos just like this, and I'll see you again soon for another video.